Long before grand temples rose across the Indian subcontinent and long before mighty kingdoms carved their mark into history, the earliest foundations of Hinduism began forming through sacred songs, whispered prayers, and timeless ideas carried from one generation to the next. Across peaceful forests, wide plains, and river valleys glowing in the morning sun, groups of wise teachers and devoted families shaped a spiritual tradition that would become one of the world's oldest and most influential. Children woke to the sound of murmured chants drifting from distant groves, unsure whether the gentle notes came from human voices or from the wind itself weaving through the trees. Life during this early age centered around small communities that valued harmony, discipline, and connection to the natural world. People gathered each morning around warm fires as elders recited ancient verses that described the origins of the universe, the forces of nature, and the duties that guided a good life. These verses, passed down orally for centuries, would eventually form the earliest sections of the Vedas, the sacred texts that captured the heart of early Hindu belief. Young listeners sat quietly, mesmerized by the rhythm of the chants and the deep meanings hidden within each line. Traveling teachers known as rishis played an essential role during this period. They wandered through quiet forests and along the banks of holy rivers, seeking wisdom through meditation and deep reflection. Many believed that the rishis heard the divine truths of the universe, receiving knowledge not through learning but through spiritual insight. When villagers saw these calm, thoughtful figures approaching, they prepared food, water, and warm mats, eager to learn from their teachings. Children watched in awe, inspired by the rishis' gentle voices and peaceful presence. Fireside rituals became the center of community gatherings. Families placed offerings of clarified butter, grains, and fragrant herbs into small ceremonial fires while chanting verses praising the gods of nature, Agni the fire, Indra the storm, Surya the sun, and many others who were believed to guide the world. Flames danced brightly as sparks drifted upward toward the sky, carrying prayers and hopes into the vast unknown. Even the youngest children sensed the sacredness of these moments, feeling both peaceful and excited as they listened to the soft crackling of the fire. Daily life blended seamlessly with spiritual practice. People treated rivers, mountains, animals, and forests with great respect, believing that each part of nature carried divine energy. Children grew up learning that kindness, honesty, and self-control were as important as strong muscles or quick minds. They helped sweep the ground around family shrines, collected flowers for offerings, and repeated simple chants taught by their parents. These lessons shaped their character slowly, like steady rain shaping the curve of a riverbank. Music played an increasingly important role in the growth of early Hindu traditions. Chants were accompanied by the deep vibrations of drums, the bright tones of cymbals, and the soft melodies of bamboo flutes. Entire communities gathered to sing during festivals, their voices rising and falling like waves rolling across the land. The rhythm of these songs helped people remember long verses that were too sacred to write down, and children often practiced them in playful groups, trying to match the precision of their elders. As knowledge expanded, early thinkers began exploring questions about existence, truth, and the purpose of life. They wondered what held the universe together, why people suffered, and what happened after death. These questions led to powerful ideas about the eternal soul known as Atman, about the cosmic order called Rita, and about the mysterious force linking all living things. Though these concepts were complex, elders found ways to explain them to children through simple stories or gentle examples drawn from nature. Communities valued learning, and informal lessons took place everywhere under mango trees, beside quiet streams, or near open courtyards where cattle rested. Teachers encouraged young students to observe the world carefully, to speak thoughtfully, and to build good habits that would guide them toward a meaningful life. Because the Vedas were recited, not written, students memorized enormous sections through patient repetition. This training strengthened both their minds and their discipline, turning oral tradition into a living treasure. Animals remained close companions in everyday life and spiritual practice. Cows were honored for providing milk, ghee, and gentle companionship. Horses symbolized strength and movement. And birds soaring overhead were seen as messengers between earth and sky. Children loved listening to stories about divine creatures, magical horses, cosmic birds, and mighty bulls that played important roles in early myths. These tales blended imagination with spiritual truth, shaping how young minds viewed the world. Festivals brought bursts of joy throughout the year. Communities decorated open spaces with garlands of marigolds, lit rows of tiny oil lamps, and prepared elaborate meals flavored with herbs, spices, and fresh fruits. Music echoed deep into the night as dancers moved gracefully around crackling fires. These celebrations honored the gods, strengthened community bonds, and helped children feel that spirituality was not only about discipline, it was also about joy, gratitude, and shared happiness. Trade and travel helped ideas spread even farther. Merchants journeyed between distant regions carrying salt, grains, pottery, bright dyes, and stories of new cultures. Along the way, they also carried chants, rituals, and beliefs, helping early Hinduism grow naturally like a tree spreading its branches across the land. Children listened eagerly when travelers arrived, amazed by stories of faraway temples, unusual customs, and wise teachers who lived beyond the horizon. The earliest ideas about duty, later known as dharma, began taking shape during this vibrant era. Families taught their children that everyone had responsibilities to care for others, to respect knowledge, to protect nature, and to live truthfully. Even simple chores like fetching water, feeding animals, or helping prepare meals were seen as important steps toward living a balanced and meaningful life. Children learned that good actions created harmony not just in their homes, but in the entire universe. Despite occasional hardships such as storms, droughts, or wild animals wandering too close to settlements, early Indian communities remained strong through unity and shared belief. They supported one another during difficult times, repaired damaged homes together, and relied on faith to guide them forward. This resilience became one of the defining qualities of early Hindu culture. And so, the age of the Vedas was a time of discovery, devotion, and deep reflection. Through sacred chants, peaceful meditation, and the wisdom of countless elders, the earliest roots of Hinduism took shape that would grow into a rich, complex tradition influencing millions for thousands of years to come. It was a world where learning and spirituality were woven into every breath, every sunrise, and every story told beside the glowing fire. As the traditions of ancient India continued to evolve, the teachings of the Vedas became woven even more deeply into everyday life, shaping how families thought, worked, celebrated, and understood their place in the universe. Dawn often began with soft murmurs of sacred verses drifting from courtyards where elders recited prayers, their voices blending with birdsong and the gentle rustle of morning breezes. Children watched curiously, sensing that these words carried wisdom older than any story they had ever heard. Rituals became important anchors that guided people through the rhythms of the day and the turning of the seasons. Priests prepared small altars with rice, flowers, clarified butter, and fragrant herbs before lighting bright flames that flickered like tiny suns. Families gathered to offer gratitude for food, health, and protection, learning that devotion was not only about asking for blessings, but also about appreciating the gifts already present in their lives. Even young children took part, placing petals carefully beside the fire and whispering quiet wishes for their loved ones. Teachers and sages played an increasingly important role in spreading knowledge from one generation to the next. Under shady banyan trees or inside simple learning halls, students sat cross-legged as they listened to lessons about ethics, nature, and the mysteries described in the Vedas. They practiced memorizing long verses through steady repetition, gently rocking back and forth to keep the rhythm alive in their minds. The dedication these students showed helped preserve ancient knowledge for centuries to come. Life at home reflected these growing spiritual ideas. Parents taught their children about Dharma, the importance of doing what is right, being honest, respecting elders, and caring for the world around them. Everyday actions, from helping with chores to showing kindness to neighbors, were seen as ways to live in harmony with the universe. As children grew older, they discovered that even small choices held great meaning, shaping the person they would become. Festivals grew brighter, more colorful, and filled with deeper symbolism. During harvest celebrations, villagers decorated streets with lamps and strings of flowers, believing that light represented knowledge and hope. Families created intricate rangoli patterns on the ground, each design welcoming good fortune into their homes. Musicians filled the air with cheerful rhythms, while dancers performed graceful movements inspired by cosmic stories of creation, balance, and the eternal dance of energy throughout the universe. New forms of learning emerged alongside ritual practices. Philosophers began exploring questions about the soul, the nature of reality, and the connection between all living beings. They discussed these ideas openly, encouraging people to think deeply and reflect on their experiences. Children sometimes sat nearby, listening quietly as great thinkers debated topics that stretched the imagination and inspired wonder. These early philosophical conversations laid the foundation for spiritual ideas that would continue to grow for thousands of years. Art and creativity blossomed under the influence of Vedic thought. Craftsmen carved symbols of sacred animals, sunbursts, and flowing rivers onto pottery, wooden pillars, and everyday tools. Storytellers added divine characters and cosmic adventures to their tales, weaving lessons of morality and balance into narratives that captivated listeners. Children often acted out these stories during play, pretending to be brave heroes, wise sages, or celestial beings guiding the world through storms and sunlight. Music remained a powerful expression of devotion and joy. Flutes, drums, stringed instruments, and hand cymbals accompanied chants that rose like waves during ceremonies. Families believed that music connected humans with the divine, helping calm the mind and open the heart. Even the youngest children learned simple melodies, clapping in rhythm or humming as they worked beside their parents. The sounds of music became part of daily life, a reminder of beauty woven into the fabric of existence. Communities grew stronger as shared beliefs united people in purpose and identity. Villagers helped one another prepare for festivals, repair homes, plant fields, and support families facing hard times. Spiritual values encouraged cooperation, compassion, and a sense of responsibility toward the community. Children learned that their actions affected not only themselves, but also the well-being of everyone around them, shaping a culture built on harmony and care. Nature continued to inspire spiritual reflection. People believed rivers carried sacred energy, mountains stood as symbols of strength, and forests held hidden wisdom. Families taught their children to treat the natural world with respect, knowing that every tree, animal, and drop of water played a role in the grand balance of life. Evening walks along riverbanks or quiet moments under the stars often turned into gentle teachings about gratitude and the interconnectedness of all things. Trade and travel helped spread Vedic ideas across regions. Merchants carried stories, rituals, and songs with them as they moved from one town to another. Families in distant places adopted new practices, adding their own customs and interpretations. This blending of ideas allowed early Hinduism to grow into a rich, diverse tradition that welcomed new knowledge while preserving the wisdom of the past. The result was a spiritual tapestry filled with countless colors, each thread representing a different community and way of life. Despite challenges such as storms, crop shortages, or conflicts between neighboring settlements, people found strength through their faith. Rituals brought comfort, teachings offered guidance, and community support provided hope during difficult times. The resilience shown by these early societies came from their deep belief that life, even in its hardest moments, was part of a greater journey shaped by both human effort and cosmic balance. Over generations, the traditions rooted in the Vedas shaped everyday life, art, music, philosophy, and community values. Children grew into adults who carried these teachings forward, creating a continuous chain of wisdom stretching across centuries. The early foundations of Hinduism became a guiding light that touched every aspect of society, from how people celebrated to how they cared for one another. And so, early Hinduism blossomed into a vibrant spiritual world filled with stories, rituals, questions, and discoveries. It was a tradition built on harmony, truth, and connection, a worldview that encouraged people to seek knowledge, cherish life, and recognize the divine presence in all things. From quiet temples to bustling marketplaces, ancient India thrived under the guiding wisdom of the Vedas, shaping a legacy that would endure throughout history.